Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, Kyle got it right. Way back in the spring of 1984, we were house hunting in Richmond, and we heard this radio station kind of breaking up. It was 90 Joy. And we heard Pastor Doug giving a 5-minute devotional. And it was, kind of coming and going, and we were in Richmond. We didn't realize they were in Fredericksburg until we happened to hear that. And we changed our plans because of just hearing Pastor Doug on the radio, and started looking up here in Fredericksburg and found a place to live. And for most of that time, we just lived right over here in Waverly Village, but we moved around a few times. So our mission tonight was to share one thing that, in one way, that New Life impacted our lives. And I thought and prayed long and hard about that, and I couldn't come up with just one thing. So I'm going to have to just touch on a couple things. Primarily, it was Pastor Doug. My relationship with Pastor Doug was awesome. He was a friend, a pastor, a teacher. He listened to me when I challenged him, and he challenged me to be more, to do more. So God used Pastor Doug in a mighty way in my life, and gave me the opportunity to serve him in his later years, which I am grateful for. The other things are practical things. We lived in a house that we were having trouble heating, and we had a wood stove in the lower level of the house, so one of the elders came over, and once I got permission from the owner, we were renting, and helped me cut a hole in the floor in a hallway upstairs and put a vent in it so that we could get that wood stove heat. A deacon came over to the house and showed me how to change drum brakes in my car. And that was great, so I could do that after that. Had another elder who spent time with me when I needed to make a career decision, and just sort of walked me through, that process and just thinking it through. And really, he asked me questions, and by the time I finished answering his questions, I didn't even have a question about which way I needed to go. So I think I made the right choice in that career decision. And then there was that ugly time when New Life was having some difficulties, and I had a very public conflict with someone else in the church. And the two elders sat with us for hours as we worked through that conflict. And by the time we finished that, I walked away in complete peace, feeling fully forgiven and fully forgiving. So that was a wonderful experience. So through New Life, for me, God has used many men in my life to challenge me, to hold me accountable, to instruct me, and to equip me to be able to do those sort of things for others. Huh? Oh, great.
Hi. As you can imagine, it is impossible to talk about all that God has done in our lives during our time here at New Life. I'm gonna cry. His goodness is overwhelming, and so it makes me emotional. To God be the glory, great things he has done. when we sang that this morning, I was like, that is the theme of what God has done through his church here at New Life, and for many things that I'm so thankful for. But as I prayed about this and asked the Lord, what do you want me to share? This piano kept coming to mind. It was such a great experience for me. And this is how that story goes. It is 1 week before Christmas, maybe 1990, 91, somewhere in there. And had we rented this piano before for Michael Card? Was it this one that we rented and then it became available? Okay, well, I'm fuzzy on those details, but okay. So the week before Christmas, this beautiful piano came available to New Life to buy, and it was announced that we needed $5,000 in a week. And I leaned over to Alan and I said, "What? It is Christmas. We are tapped out. How are we going to get $5,000 for this piano?" And I really doubted the impossible. And it was so glorious to sit down the next week and for it to be announced. All the money had come in. And I was a little bit ashamed of my unbelief. But my unbelief was nothing compared to God working in the hearts of his people to raise that money. So I am reminded every week that I think about it to remember that God is the God of impossible things, and so thankful for that. So the other thing that struck me was live stream, and just how early before COVID, God laid it on the heart of a young man. And if you want the whole story, ask Scott Oberlin, because it's a really good story. But he laid it on his heart to somehow rig up something. And then COVID hit, and we were so prepared to live stream. And that is God's care for his people. And at the moment, it was like suck your breath away. Powerful of his and how he prepared us and his care for us. So I do have a lot of stories. But one more. And I know that Pastor Doug prepared his messages 6 months in advance, and as he preached them, they were so appropriate for that day. But so often, when I'm teaching Sunday school or Mrs. Hamilton is teaching Sunday school, we come into church and the message was the theme of our Sunday school lesson. And I don't stand up in my chair, but I want to. And just make eye contact with my girls and say, "See how much God loves you? He's going to give it to you twice." And that is so reassuring of his love and his power, and it brings peace and comfort and faith. It deepens faith when things like that happen. And those are just a few of my stories that I have in giving God the glory for great things that he has done for his people through this church. I am very thankful. Thank you.